Hey guys, hanging out with Raz Bradley. Raz, you are an elder at Mill City Church in
Correct.
South Carolina, right? But what's your day job?
For my day job, I work in financial planning. I am a retirement planner in Lexington, South Carolina.
Awesome. But you dabble hobby in Chat GPT and all the fun AI tools, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a big nerd,
I
and
could see that.
yeah, big nerds spend their money on things other than coffee and movies. I
Right.
spend my money on new technologies
Okay.
and softwares and those kinds of things. And so, yeah, as new interesting ones have been releasing, I've been subscribing to them. If I like them, I'll keep them. If I don't like them so much, I'll drop them. But yeah, so
How many subscriptions to AI tools do you have in your arsenal right now?
I've just dropped down from 6 or 7 to about 4, I think.
Okay. What are your favorites?
I think my favorite for creative purposes, for like just playing around, is Suno AI. It's a music and audible generator.
Okay.
But ChatGPT is a big one. Everyone knows that one, but
Yep.
the paid subscription unlocks a ton.
Yep.
And Midjourney would be
Yep.
probably third out of
Okay.
them. I like
Okay.
a lot.
Great.
Midjourney.
Okay, so how did you start getting into AI tools, and where do you see this whole thing going?
Well, I started because, I've been a nerd forever. And when you play around with Photoshop or music recording, those kinds of things,
Mhm.
you know how much time and effort and work it takes to make that image or make that sound. And, Photoshop's gotten better and better. The tools have gotten better over the last 15 years. And then this new technology comes out that can just wipe away all of that and you can generate an image that you want. And that's worth looking into.
Yep.
And so when those first hit, and you would say generate a picture of a person and they had 7 fingers and like 3 eyes, it wasn't so helpful. But it's come a long way in just the last year,
Mhm.
to being helpful and useful, and you can actually use it for a ton of practical applications now.
In the realm of visuals, visual media, where do you see it going? Do you think it's gonna take over the designer, take over the video? Where do you see the human aspect
I think it's
in it?
possible. I think it'll transform a lot of it for sure. Because even the basics of wedding photography or something. Wedding photographers forever have had to take the perfect shot, and
Yeah.
that's still going to exist. You still need that photographer because that's your day. You can't generate that. But they've always done color correction, and they've always taken out that little person in the background that they didn't want there, or the power pole or whatever. And so it doesn't have to generate everything, but it can generate small sections of a photo to cover up a thing. And so I think it'll ultimately be a tool in the toolbox for creative people.
Mhm.
My fear is that uh, because it's new and scary and feels like it's going to replace people, it will, there'll be too much fear to adopt what it's actually capable of. But I think used well,
Yeah.
it can
Do
be
you sense
done.
that now in the church space that it's either a fear or a just I don't have the time to figure all of that out? Or do you sense an adoption from ministry leaders?
Uh, I think there is a fear, particularly on the ChatGPT style. If I wanted to, I could go get AI to write a sermon,
Mhm.
and I think that would be on the other side of the ethical line. I would not have AI generate sermons. I think there's something worshipful about it, and I think there's something worshipful about presenting authentic, material that you've come up with.
Mhm.
So there is a fear of well, it's dangerous because it can go too far.
Right.
But then on the right side of the ethics of it, it's we use our concordances and we use our research,
Right.
and we use Google already, and Google's just a big brain on the internet in the cloud. This can do a lot of that work for you, categorize it, summarize it, make a list of books and authors and those kinds of things.
Right.
And it can really be a tool for the research rather than the generator of the final product.
Yeah, we were talking up there that I was talking with an older pastor, more conservative or traditional pastor, that has been hesitant about AI. And I don't want anything writing my sermon or very theological concerns and things like that. But when I presented it in a way like think about this: what if you had a robot that was trained just on the works of your favorite authors.
Grudem or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Or your favorite group of book collections that you have on your shelf.
Yeah.
What if it's trained on that library of books,
Mhm.
and you told it, "Search this library of books and find for me these certain things, and go research that for me."
Yeah.
How would you respond to that? Well, I would, "Yeah, that sounds good. I could do that."
Yeah.
But
And so
so
some of that material is not copyrighted, right? So like Calvin's Institutes are
right,
public domain. You can take the full print of Calvin's Institutes and upload it into ChatGPT as a resource.
right,
And then you can tell ChatGPT, I want you to behave and respond as if you are John Calvin.
right,
And then you can just ask John Calvin questions.
right,
And it will, to the degree that it has the answer from the material,
right,
it will respond. And
right,
you can tell it whether or not you want it to creatively invent a response, or you can tell it, if you don't know the answer,
right,
tell me you don't know the answer.
right,
And so that's where you get into these gray areas. If you let it generate responses based on its awareness or whatever,
right.
then you start getting weird, funky stuff. So
Right.
you gotta have a discernment for that.
What about imagery? Do you think that there's gonna be more of the lay person, the lay pastor trying to generate their own imagery and video? Do you think it's gonna take a designer eye to help? Okay, I know the tool, I can craft that, but I can also tweak it in Photoshop, or I can also make it better for you. Where do you see that landing?
Certainly at first, I think there's going to be the average pastor is probably not going to know what exactly to do or where to type or how to even craft a prompt that will get them the result that they want. And so
Right.
it
So
would
those
probably
experts are needed to craft the prompts?
I think so.
Yep.
For now,
Yep.
maybe it'll get better, but for now, and especially in the imagery space, the to make it present back to you what you want it to show, you need to give it very clear instructions,
Right.
and that takes repetition, time, and learning to figure out how to even talk to the robot so it'll give you what you want.
Yes. So I think right now you're right. I think that the lay person needs the expert to train the robot, and use the tool for them,
That's right, and
perhaps.
I'll give you an example of like a relatively practical one that I'm going to be sharing today. For our kids ministry, one of the things that they've just got to do all the time is come up with a new craft or a new coloring sheet or a new whatever.
Mm.
And so I wrote a custom GPT for our kids ministry that's basically input a Bible verse and tell it, do you want a craft or do you want a coloring page? And if you want a craft, it'll read the scripture that you want it to do, and then it'll tell you, here's the materials you need, here's the stuff you need, whatever. And then if it's a coloring page, it will just generate a black and white, like a 5-year-old kind of zone coloring page of an image of that thing. And now you've got to have a little discernment. Sometimes it'll put a sheep's head on a horse or whatever,
Right.
but
Right.
you can just regenerate it and it'll
Right.
come up with a better one,
Right.
and you can use that.
Yeah. Good. So what are your favorite image generators?
I've
You mentioned Midjourney.
Yeah. So I'm in terms of the subscriptions, I'm back down to just Midjourney and Dall-E at this
Okay.
point. And Dall-E is integrated with
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Yep.
So, if you're going to be doing anything with text, and we're speaking in November 2024, it could be different next week.
Correct.
It's very quickly developing, but if you're doing anything with text, generally Dall-E handles those instructions better. If you're doing anything that is photorealistic, generally Midjourney handles that stuff better.
Mhm.
And so I'll really, if I need to create something like a slide for a Christmas service, and I want it to be just a Christmas tree that's beautiful and lit up with lights,
Mhm.
I'll probably go to Midjourney because it will generate that nicer. But if I wanted to say, come to our Christmas gathering, I would probably do that in Dall-E because Midjourney doesn't handle rendering the
So
text.
would you do okay. So would you take that text in Dall-E as a PNG with no background and merge them in Photoshop? Or would you say, okay, I'm gonna use this tool for this and this tool for
Yeah, I tend to do one for one and one for the other. And if it's Midjourney and I really like the image, then I'll just slap some text on it.
Right.
If I've got Photoshop on the computer, I'll use that. If
Right.
not, I'll use Canva or something
Right.
like that.
Okay, but what about video tools? What are your favorite video
Um,
generators?
I haven't honestly found one that I love,
Hmm.
and I've experimented with 5 or 6 of them, and none of them are publishable yet. And so they're fun to play with, but they will really just sort of animate a still frame image,
Mhm.
or there's some that are trying to figure out how to generate B-roll.
Right.
But when you generate B-roll, you
Let's define what B-roll is. B-roll is the like if I have a talking head like this and I put a piece of footage on top that has no audio, it's like if we're talking about birds, this would be footage of birds over us right now.
yeah. And so so far they've been okay if the thing that you're looking at doesn't have to be discernible. If it's just birds flying in the sky, that's fine. If it needs to be the skyline of Chicago, it's going to mess that up. And if you know what Chicago looks like, you'll know this isn't Chicago.
Right.
This is some kind of weird generated thing.
Right.
And so it's not to the point yet where it could completely replace the videographer going out and getting B-roll.
Yeah.
But in different, I think if you needed a 1-second clip of a person shutting the car door, then maybe you could get away with it.
Right.
But if it was something that had to be recognizable, none of them are capable of that yet.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll talk again next week.
Yeah.
It might all change.
2 weeks and everything changes every time.
Awesome. Appreciate your time, Raz. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, man. This has been a podcast presentation of Church Visuals. Executive produced by Carl Barnhill. Edited by Mario Franco. Title and show graphics by Angie Lomas. For more resources to help you visually communicate the gospel, visit churchvisuals.com.